All right, so one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy about both the Elise and the Exige is that the windows rattle when they're down. Now this happens because the window guides actually wear out over time. And there are a couple places out there now selling replacement window guides, but I'm going to tell you why that is a terrible idea and you shouldn't do it. And I have a better solution that's much easier, much cheaper, and much simpler. But let me show you what it sounds like first. So we'll put the window down and hopefully you're going to be able to hear this. I ended up with new guides on one window and my own homemade solution on the other window. And I'm currently driving the car like that as sort of an A/B test to see which is better. So first, why are the replacement guides a problem? It seems like a logical solution. Get a new version of the part that wears out. But the work to replace the guides is not for the faint of heart. It is actually quite difficult. You have to remove the window glass from the door, which involves removing the seal at the top edge of the door too. These are very easy to damage while you're removing them, and they aren't cheap to replace. Once you get the window out, then the real fun begins. The window guides are glued to the glass with windshield adhesive, so make sure you have some of that laying around or go out and buy some more. So then you cut off the old guides and carefully mark where they were so that you can fit the new ones in place. You glue in the new guides and let it sit overnight. Now you get to install the window. This isn't easy. I had my glass in and out of the door at least 4 times, so I did get better at it, but it is still really hard to line up the guides on the rails and not scratch the glass. Alright, so you finally get it all back together and you wind up with something like this. A huge gap that wasn't there before. So now you get to start the trial and error of making all sorts of little fiddly adjustments to position the glass. And after many dozens of adjustments, I was still stuck with it like this. I just need to shift the window back this direction further, and that seems impossible to do with the current guides. And let me show you why. Sadly, this was as good as I could get the alignment, which frankly was pretty bad and nowhere near the original OEM fitment. At this point, I was regretting the entire project. But I decided to investigate why the fitment is so poor with the new guides. And after a bunch of observing, measuring, and thinking, I did study mechanical engineering, I figured it out. One of the dimensions of the new guides is too thick. The extra thickness of this guide shifts the window forward too much, creating a gap at the rear of the window. At this point, I was really frustrated, but I contacted the other vendor of the guides and asked them to send me their dimensions. Their guides were thinner. They're also cheaper. So I figured in the name of research, I might as well do the project all over again. I know, dumb idea, right? But I couldn't leave it like it was with the gap. And to the credit of the original vendor, they did refund my money for the first set of guides. So the new set of guides arrived and I took everything apart again, cut off the poor fitting guides, glued on the new ones, and put it back in. Did I mention that I got pretty good at this? And even still, I would tell you, do not do it. After that, I started the adjustments with the new guides and finally got it to wind up like this, which isn't quite perfectly aligned with the rubber seal, but it's not as bad and at least there's no gap. But now let me tell you what I did on the driver's side that is way easier and works just as well. Basically, you remove the door card and peel back the water seal. Then you get a piece of foam and cut it to fit the shape of the bottom of the door so that it can sit at the bottom of the door cavity. After a little trial and error, I also found that cutting a small channel in the top of the foam for the window to slide down into when it was retracted was actually really helpful too. You may have to cut and adjust the height of the foam so that the window fully retracts into the door and isn't held up by the foam. I'll put a link to the foam that I used in the description so that you can do this yourself. Then all you have to do is glue the water seal back in place and fit the door card.
All right, so another thing that I'm going to do while the door panels are off, this is totally unrelated to the window rattles, but I'm going to install some of this foam inside the doors to try to just lower the sound level in the car a little bit and make it a little bit more livable. Now, this is not very heavy, super lightweight. It has this heat shield on one side and it has an adhesive backing on the other side. I will put the link to this in the video description, but yeah, I think this will be pretty good, and I'm just going to stick it inside the door to try to, you know, add a little bit of sound deadening and comfort to the Elise. All right, so this stuff comes in pretty big sheets. Let me try to get a light in here, and you can just see I cut it up into smaller little pieces and stuck it on. I did that on the other side door, but it was a hassle, and the stuff really, if you get it on your fingers, it really sticks to your fingers and kind of just gets everywhere. So I do these smaller pieces and I just put them up against the door like this, and it doesn't interfere with my foam guide at the bottom. And yeah, I hope this will make it a little bit of an improvement for the interior space and just making it a little bit more quiet, a little more comfortable for those long trips.
Done. That's it. So far, this is working amazingly well, and the window is still perfectly aligned since I didn't have to mess with the adjustments.
Now you can see. It does not seem like the window's going to rattle.
And another bonus is that I didn't damage the seal at the top of the door. Even better, it's entirely reversible. Just yank out the foam if you need to. Now, of course, if your window rattles while it's up, this isn't going to solve your problem. But most of the Lotus window rattles that I've talked to people about are always when the window is lowered. In fact, some people avoid lowering it fully so that the door seal kind of stops the rattle. They just kind of lower it almost all the way, but so that a little part of the glass is still sitting in the seal. I did that for a while, but eventually it started rattling anyway. So my recommendation is save yourself a massive headache and just use the foam solution. It works, and in true Lotus fashion, it's also lightweight. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video.